Hello boys and girls and welcome. Great coding session is ahead of us because not only will be improving our code from our previous session, but also you can look forward to some quizzes. We will be helping Panda to turn around because as of now, our Panda can go forward, it can go backwards, it can go sideways, but what kind of Panda can turn around at will? That's not natural. Yeah, and our Panda can't do it. So we will help our Panda to do just that. And not only that, but by the end of this video, you will get a challenge. That's right, you heard right. Because Eli isn't just about helping you to code. It's not just about teaching you what each function is doing. It's about challenging you. It's about helping you to grow. Because it is when you are challenged, when you need to figure things out, that's when your synapses in your head's firing the most. It will never fire on endless Instagram scroll. No. It's when you need to figure out solutions on your own. That's when your heads are working the most. That's when you grow the most. So let's enough talking. Let's head over to our code editor. Let's get started. Okay, so we are back in our editor, and you should be having the same code as before, like I do. But let's check what Panda can do at the moment. And from our last session, you should be having this. You should be having a Panda that goes forward, backwards, left, and right, and it can go alongside as well. It can go across like that. That's what you should be having, like I do. Okay, but now since we want to upgrade our Panda, we want to actually make our Panda better, we need to set up certain initial values in our init. We need to add certain attributes to it. Yeah. The first of all, what we need to do is we need to keep track of when Panda is turning and when it's not turning. Okay, and we do that in our key map. So let's do it. So we create new key which is going to be turned, and we give it initial value as false to start with. Then we need to add some variables. Okay, let's do self, and we do Panda is turning, and it will be false to start with. Now we will need other one here, self Panda rotated. That's wrong. Excuse me. Panda rotated, and we'll give it initial value of 0. Yeah, because with this variable, we'll be keeping track of how much Panda is being rotated by, what degree. You know what? Let's make the variable more descriptive, because that's what Python likes the most, and other Python developers will appreciate it as well, boys and girls. Is when you make your variables as descriptive as possible. Yeah. So Panda degree rotated. Let's give it 0. Yeah. Obviously, you can give you can name your variable whatever you want. It can be self Hakuna Matata like this, and equals 0, right? However, it's not very intuitive. Like if your friend will look at your code and he will be familiar with Python, he will understand what Hakuna Matata 0 actually is, what it refers to. Yeah. So it's not a good idea to make or to name your variables like that. Okay. So the general rule of thumb is when you are creating variables, make it as descriptive as possible. Okay. And Panda degree rotated, it fits the bill. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, next variable we will need is initial direction, or initial Panda direction, and let's give it string with a value of straight. Again, I'm creating this variable because later on in the video we'll be checking certain values, and depending on those values, we'll be taking action, or Panda will be taking action. So that's why I'm creating this variable. Next, what we need to do is we want actually Panda to turn around when certain key is pressed. For the sake of this example, I think T for tango makes kind of sense, boys and girls, right? Because T is like a first letter of the word turn. So we can just simply add a new key to be accepted by Panda program, right? So let's do self accept, and in single quotes or double quotes, whichever suits you, we just type in T. And now what we need to do is specify the function that will be called when the T is pressed. And in our case, again, it's going to be self handle movement. And remember, it is a list. It is a list where we supply turned. See, because we've got turn here in this key map, so we need the same key to specify here. Turn, and we'll give it true, like that. Something I want to point out here, that I won't be doing this. Let me just show you, because as you can see from our previous lines of code, we actually had a Panda to check if we are releasing the key as well. We've got D and D up, A up, S A up, which basically checks when the key is being released, right? But I'm not doing this time. T up, which basically will be checking if I release the key. Why I'm not doing it? Why this is wrong? This line of code is wrong because I don't want Panda to be turning when I release the key. I don't want that. I want Panda to be turning only when I press the key, but not when I release the key. That's important things to notice, is that depends really what you want to achieve here. And in this case, what we want to achieve is that we want Panda to turn only when the key is pressed, not released. So hence, I will just take this off. Okay, so now Panda knows when to start turning. But now, as you can see, Panda doesn't know when this value will be false. Yeah, because we are actually not doing the up, we are not doing the release, we are not checking for release at all. But still, Panda needs to know when to turn back when we press T. And how we do that? Well, what we can do is this. From our previous session, you remember we've got this handle movement function, or I should say method, because it's within the class and then makes it a method. So what we need to do is basically check if the key was pressed again, and when the key was pressed again, what is the value of the turn key? Yeah, let me show you. If movement is turned and value is true, as you can probably tell by now, this is very explicit. We don't actually need to specifically say value is true. We can just as well do this and then on the condition, right? Because Python by default checks for truthiness or falsiness of that statement itself. What I'm doing here is just I'm being super explicit. Value is true and self key map turned. So basically what I'm doing here is that I'm checking if I'm pressing the T button or T key again when the Panda has already turned. That's what I'm doing here. And when I do, what I need to do, okay, it basically Panda, I'm telling Panda, I'm pressing the T key, but you are already turned, so I want you to turn back. So self key map turn, and I will assign false. And what I will also do is at this point I will change the value of self panda. I wanted a different one. What did I name it? I named it, yeah, initial panda direction. I need to change it. I need to change it to an empty string because I will be checking for it. I will be checking for it down the line, or later in this video I will show you. So now basically Panda knows that if I have pressed the T key again and the panda was already turned, that means that I'm telling her I want you to turn back, and I want you to flip the value of turn to false from true. And here I will just add else statement like this, and I will just indent this block of code. Yeah. So basically what I'm saying here is that if I'm passing in the movement and its turn, and I'm passing value true, and the key map turn is true, then I will execute this code. But if that's not what I'm passing in, if this is not the truth, if I'm not passing in these values, I want you to just change the values of the key that I'm passing in, nothing else. Okay, so that's sweet. So now Panda knows what to do if I press the key T. The other way around. Panda knows what to do when I press the T key again. But I'm not actually turning the panda, am I? Yeah, we need to change that, right? We need to fix that. So what we're gonna do here in the update method, I will just simply add a new line. And here in the update game loop, we are checking for certain conditions, right? We are checking what is happening or not happening to panda. So we will just add few more conditions. So what we will do is if, let me just add one more line. If self initial panda direction, that's what I wanted. Yeah. Initial panda direction is straight, which it is by default to start with, and self key map turned, which basically at this point it evaluates to true. And after I checked that panda hasn't turned yet, I can do self without capitals, self panda degree rotated plus equals, and I will be just adding, I will increasing the value and changing the z-axis of my panda, and I will be increasing it by say 0.5. Actually no, just let's do just a 0.5. Yeah, if you see me just doing like a dot and number, it basically is like there's like this leading zero, but it's implicit. Yeah, so basically this 0.5 sorry, this dot 5 is the same thing to Python as this. Yeah, but if you omit the leading zero, Panda will still understand what I mean. So I'm increasing the value of panda degree rotated by 0.5 each frame, each loop. And when I do that, I want to change the position of panda, but I want to change the z-axis. Do you remember from our previous session is that we have different axes in our game. We have X, Y, and Z, and at the moment, let me show you this. At the moment, where I see, yeah, this position, it changes where panda is going when it comes to movement. You know, movement forward, backward, sideways, right? But what we need to do here is we are changing the rotation of panda, rotation around its axis. And we have X, Y, and Z, right? And in this case, what we are doing with panda is we are rotating panda around its z-axis. that what makes Panda rotate or make it seem like she's turning around is the z-axis, and we do that by changing the set HPR. The set HPR method of Panda, it rotates the object in question. It rotates our Panda, and what we need to do, we need to rotate it. Yeah, just a self Panda degree rotate. We just pass in the value, and since set HPR takes 3 parameters, it takes its axis x, y, and z, and inside I need to pass in the x, y, and z parameters, and Panda degree rotated comes first. I will tell you the reason why it comes first is because set HPR method calls behind the scenes. You can't see it, right? But when it's run, it runs behind the scenes this method, yeah, and it takes the z parameter first. So we need to get self Panda degree rotated. That's going to be the first parameter, and we will just keep 0 the other parameters, 0 and 0, because we are rotating just the z-axis. We are not rotating Panda around x or y. We don't need that. We just need the Panda to turn. So now, if I hit Control S to save, and I run our code, Panda should turn. Panda should turn if I press T. And indeed, Panda is turning. Panda is turning. But there's something a little bit weird about it, right? Did you notice? Let me just run it again, okay? And let me just full screen it, and yeah, I think if I press the T now, it will be visible to you as well. When I press T, Panda is turning, but the legs are not moving, right? Panda is turning, that's right, but I don't see her legs moving at all, which looks super weird and unnatural. Let's fix that. So basically what we need to do is when Panda starts turning, we need to play certain animation. We need to play the walk animation, yeah? But if you remember, we need to check first if it's not already playing, yeah? Because otherwise, if we don't check for it first, Panda will be calling that loop, that play animation method every single frame, which will in turn actually look very unnatural and strange. So for that reason, we will check if not self Panda is turning. Let me just double check if I've got it right. Oh, Panda is walking. That's my bad. Panda is walking. Okay. I need to take this off. If not Panda is walking, then I want to start that Panda loop walk. I might as well just copy paste it. That's completely fine, like that. Make sure that all lines are indented properly. Alrighty. But now what do we need to do? We can't just leave it like this, because if I do leave it like this, what will happen is that basically at this point Panda will start walking, but I'm not actually pressing any buttons because I pressed the T button and I'm not moving Panda with any of the keys, right? Which means that this code will be executed, this code will be ran, and it will stop the Panda animation walk. So what I need to do here, I just need to change the value of self Panda is turning and give it true, because to start with, Panda is turning false to start with. That's what we wanted. But now at this point, Panda is turning, and we'll give it true, and we will add a new condition here. We will just add, and I need to check if Panda is supposed to run this block of code when nothing is being pressed, and I'm not trying to turn around, I'm not trying to turn Panda around, and not self Panda is turning. And if it's not turning, stop Panda. But if Panda is turning is true, that means that this code won't be executed. It won't stop Panda from walking. Control S to save, and I will run it. Let's see. That's right. Panda is actually walking, is actually running the animation while I'm turning it. But now you can see Panda turned and she was walking at the same time. But now Panda keeps walking even though it finished turning. So we need to change the code again, and we need to fix that. Let's do it. Okay, so what we need to do here is that we need to change the value Panda is turning to back to false. But when? When should I change it back to false? Well, when the pandas finally finished turning, right? So else self Panda is turning to false. So basically this will be executed on the loop when this evaluates to true. So if Panda degree rotated is no longer less than 180, because when Panda is finally turned around, it is this Panda degree rotated will be 180 degrees. It won't be less. That means that Python will jump to this statement, and it will change the value Panda is turning to false. At this point, Panda will stop walking. Let's do it. Control S to save, and let's run it. Let's see. There you go. So Panda finally turned around, and she doesn't walk on the spot. That will be again unnatural and weird, right? So we have accomplished this. But now what we need to deal with is we have managed to turn Panda around when we press the T button, right? But Panda can't turn her again. we need to help Panda to turn around again if we press the T button. And we do that by adding a new statement, new condition to this if statement. What we need to do, we will add else if self initial Panda direction is empty string. I will explain later why I'm checking if, actually I can just explain you now. I'm checking for this Panda direction to be empty string because here I'm changing value to the empty string, because at this point Panda knows that I'm already turned around, and it needs to know when to start turning back when I press the T button, right? The T key. And it will know because here I'm changing the initial value direction from straight to empty string. So basically it means that when the game loop runs through all those conditions, it will check if this statement is true. If it's not true, it will jump to else if statement. And it will check if Panda direction is an empty string, if it is. And it also needs to check if self key map and self key map is still turned, if it's still true. If it is, I think I've got something wrong here. Else if self, oh yeah, it's right here. It's the equal sign. I need I need to make a double equal sign like this. Now Python likes it. Yeah. Now I just need to ensure that Panda is actually turned. It's not. It's I would say it's not a necessary check, but I'm just being super explicit, and yeah, I don't mind adding one extra check before I run the code. So if self Panda degree rotated is greater than 0, which at this point should be. It doesn't have to be, but it should be, yeah. Because if we press the T button and Panda turn, that means that it's 180, yeah. So at this point, this if statement should be executed. I don't think I need to check for it, but like I said, I'm just being explicit here. If it's 180, which it is at this point, I want to Panda to start turning back and run the same animation, the walk animation. So what I need to do, I can basically just copy paste this one over here, and when it's walking, what I need to do, I need to decrease the Panda degree rotated minus equals to half, 0.5, because here I'm increasing it, which means I'm actually heading towards 180, but I want Panda to turn back. That means that I need to decrease the value every single loop the Panda runs. Okay, so and now what I need to do, pretty much the same thing like here. I might as well just copy paste it. Copy paste it over here, and again I need to check. Okay, I'm missing parentheses here. I need to check if Panda stop turning. Yep. Otherwise, if it's 0, because now we are checking if it's greater than 0, and while it's greater than 0, it will keep rotating Panda, and when it's finally 0, I want to stop Panda from walking. Stop self Panda stop, like that. But there's one more thing I need to do in this in this block of code, in this else statement. On top of, actually I should say, underneath this Panda stop, what I need to do, I need to change the value of self initial Panda direction, and I need to put it back to straight. Why I'm putting back to straight? Because Panda on every single loop is checking if whether or not it should execute this code. And if I omit this line, this code or block will be never executed again. It will be just keep checking for certain conditions, but this would never be true again. It would never run this block of code again, and that's not what we want. So we want Panda to know when to run that block of code again, and for that reason I will just leave this on. But before we run our code again, we need to change the value of we need to change this conditional statement to not. Basically I will be checking if the self key map, if the key turn is false, because at this very point it needs to be false in order for Panda to start turning back. Because why? Because here I'm switching the value of turn back to false, so Panda knows when to start turning. I need both of these conditions to be true. Yep. So Control S to save, and let's run it. So what we got here, so I'm pressing T and Panda is turning. Sweet, that's exactly what we wanted. Okay, Panda turn, and let's turn Panda again, and awesome stuff. Panda is turning back. Okay, let's see what works, what isn't working. We can still go left and right, forwards and backwards, but can you see what I'm seeing? the animation, the walk animation isn't running. Panda basically is moving around, but animation isn't being triggered. Yeah, that's not what we wanted. So we need to fix that. Let's do it. Let's exit out of it. And the reason why it's not running is because Panda is turning, oh sorry, Panda is walking is set to true, and here down, when the key up is pressed, it checks if it's not walking, but Panda at this point is actually walking. So what we need to do here, we need to change the value to is Panda walking back to false. Why? So this code is run because when the Panda is going every single condition in every single frame and loop, at this point Panda is walking is true, so this code won't be executed. Yeah, when we are basically saying that Panda don't walk because this value is already true, because Python thinks the value is already true, so it doesn't need to run that animation. But that's what we want. We want Panda to tell we stop walking, but here we want to start walking again because we are pressing the forward button, the up button, or W, or the W key if you wish, right? So Panda is walking false, and when I hit Control S to save, later on, when Python reaches this code, it will run this code again. It will switch it back to true, but it will run the animation again. So let's flip over to our game and let's try again. Yeah. So I'm pressing T again. Panda is turning. Lovely. We can left and right. Yeah, yes, we can move around just fine. We need, as you can see from at this point, we need to change how the keys behave when Panda is turned around. Yeah, because the keys don't behave correctly, but we will get to that later. Let's turn the Panda around again. Press T button. And now let's check if it's actually doing what it's supposed to do. Yes, Panda is moving around just fine and is walking. But you probably noticed what I noticed, that when I stop moving Panda, when I stop pressing keys, Panda didn't stop walking. It just kept walking on the spot. We need to change that. What we need to change though, can you tell? What we need to change is this value. We need to put it, we need to change the value of Panda is turning back to false. Okay, so Panda is walking and self Panda is turning back to false. So basically we are telling Panda we stop walking, we stop turning, and next I want you to check if I need to start walking Panda again. Okay, Control S to save, and now we should be getting the output, or we should be getting the experience we want, right? So let's run it again. Don't forget to save your code. Okay, so let's check it out. Pressing T, Panda is turning, that's fine. Alrighty, so now I'm pressing T to turn Panda back. Panda is turning, and let's check if it's actually doing what it's supposed to do. And yes, indeed, Panda is walking because it reacts to our code. Sweet. We can exit out of this. Okay, so now what we need to do is that we need to fix our keys, how they function, because when Panda is turning and it's turned and facing a different direction, we need those keys, W, S, A, D, to be behaving the way we need when Panda is turned. So what we need to do basically is that we need to call we need to call these functions or these lines of code with different values. And for what we need to do though, there are two ways to go about it. One is better than the other. What we will do to follow best practices in Python is we won't be repeating code. We will basically I will put this code into function, and I will pass in values depending which way Panda is facing. That way I will still, you will see later in your video, because I will still be repeating code a little bit, but I will be repeating only few lines of code as opposed to repeating, I would say, how many? About 25 to 30 lines of code. I would say 25 lines of code, yeah. So it will still work out better if I put it just in a function. Yeah, let's do it. So in order to make the code a little bit clearer, I will rename a few variables. And for example, I will rename this method from update to update game loop, just to make things a little bit more descriptive. Yeah, update game loop, and I will rename it here as well. I can the description of this method, it can stay the same, but I might as well just edit it as well. Game loop, it doesn't really matter. It can stay update without any alteration. It's completely fine. I'm just doing it for just to be super descriptive. Update game loop, and pardon me, that's not what I wanted to do. That's fine. And what I will do, I will create a new function right underneath this one, and I will name it just update key map, like this. I'll give it self. It's the reference to the object itself, or the class itself, and I will be passing in certain values. Yeah, so I will be passing in forward or backward, and I will pass in sideways, and I will also pass in the dt variable, yeah, because I need the delta time value to be available inside this function, so I will just pass it in as well, dt colon, and I'm in it. And what I will basically do, I will just, this code, I will cut, let me just go a little bit down, yep, this code I will cut and paste into this new function. So Control X to cut. I will go a little bit down here, and Control V to paste. And now what I need to do to let me just clean this up a little bit. Yep, we don't need unnecessary lines of empty lines. And right underneath this dt value, I will check if Panda degree rotated is less than 180 degrees, and I will call the new function or method because it's inside a class. I will call it self update key map, and I will pass in the values that I need that this function to work with. Method, I'm sorry. And okay, so it's working with we've got -20, we've got -10, 10. At this point, what we also can do, just for the sake of improving our code as we go along, is I don't know if you notice, boys and girls, I'm pretty sure you have noticed, but when we are actually moving Panda forward, when we are walking forward and backwards, it doesn't go the straight line, it goes slightly diagonally. Yeah, it doesn't go straight line, it just goes diagonally slightly, and I think and it's because of this value. It's not a major issue, it's not major, it's not something that's groundbreaking really. The Panda still works, and the game just runs just fine. It's just if we zero this out, this Panda, when we press S or W, it will go straight line. It will just look maybe a little bit better. You be the judge. Okay, so let me just put this 0, and that's it pretty much. Yeah, and also I can see that actually when Panda is going forward and backwards, it's going a little bit faster than sideways. So we might as well just give it 10 and 10 to give it the same speed. Yeah, to give Panda the same speed. So that's that. Alrighty, so and now what we need to do is instead of giving this function hard-coded values, we will give it the values we are passing in that very moment. Yeah, so it's negative forward and backward, like this. Yeah, that's fine. And now when Panda is going down, we need to check which way Panda is facing. Okay, let's do it. So if self Panda degree rotated is less than 180, we want to run, we want to execute this line of code. However, at this point, as you can see, we are passing in 10 is hard-coded here, and we are passing in negative 10. So what we need to do at this point, we just need to call the apps function. It's a Python building function, and what it essentially does, from mathematics, you probably know that absolute value means the opposite of what's being in question. So basically, we just need to call forward or backwards. We need to call the apps function on this forward and backward value, and it will flip the value from negative to positive for us. That's right. And if that's not the case, if Panda isn't rotated, or I should say if Panda is actually rotated, then we want to execute the same thing, the same line of code. However, what we want to do is we don't want to run the apps method, because at this point what we are passing in isn't the negative 10, we are passing in positive 10. However, at this point what we want is the negative 1. Yeah, so we will just add the minus sign, and which in turn makes this whole statement negative. That's exactly what we want at this very moment. Okay, next what we want to do, when we are pressing left, again we want to check which way Panda is facing. If self Panda degree rotated is less than 180, which means that it's 0, Panda set position 10 to 10, and what we want to do here is we want to pass in the absolute value of negative 20. I think it's at this point it's 20. No, it's 10 actually. But yeah, we want positive. So we call the apps function on it. So it's sideways. That's the one. Sideways. And if it's not, if Panda is actually turned, then we want to call the same function, same line of code, but what we want, because at this point in this else statement, sideways is positive and we want a negative, so we will just add a minus or negative symbol if you want, negative sign, whichever works for you. Okay, and lastly, before we run our code, what we want to do is we want just to replace this hard-coded value minus 10 for the one we are passing into function, which is sideways, just like that. Okay, let's take a look if we are calling everything we're supposed to be calling. Okay, here we just need to update, we just need to edit the way we are calling the function. So let's do a self update key map, and it's a negative 10.0, negative 10.0, and it also needs the DT value, so we need to pass it in. Otherwise, if Panda is rotated, self update key map and positive values, so 10.0, 10.0, and again the DT value. Okay, we can remove the empty lines, Control S to save, and let's run the code. Okay, let's take a look from this angle. Backwards, forward and backwards, left and right. Let's rotate Panda. Let's turn her around. Okay, Panda is turned, and Panda is indeed moving the way we want. Yeah, those keys W, S, A, D are behaving appropriately the way we want, no matter which way Panda is facing. Okay, let's turn it around again. And yes, there we have it. Wonderful. Good stuff. Okay, we can exit out of this. And you know what, boys and girls, let's make our game a little bit more interesting, because all games, they typically include some kind of music, right? Some kind of sounds to make the whole experience better. So, and in Panda3D, you can do it as well. Yeah, you can absolutely add your own music to the play, right? So, what we can do, in the description below, you will find an MP3 file. Yeah, music. It's a Eli soundtrack. Yeah, you can download it and we can work with it. Yeah. So, and right underneath where I'm actually attaching Panda to the scene, right underneath, I will just create a new variable, new music, self loader, and it is load, as it is here, load SFX. That's the one. And we just need to specify the path, and the path is in the current directory, and we will call it Eli soundtrack mp3, like that. And next the self music play, just like that. Control S to save, and let's run it. Oh yeah, I can hear the music. I don't know if you can hear it from when you are, but yeah, in my speaker I can hear the Eli soundtrack, and it just makes the experience better, right? What game doesn't have that music? And as you can see, it's super simple. It takes literally 2 minutes of code. Get out of this. It takes literally 2 lines of code just to import or load your music and play it. Amazing. Good stuff.
And now it's quiz time. What building function you need to use if you want to rotate your model? Take a moment to think about your answer. And it's the setHPR method. Well done. What building function you need to use if you want to add a sound effect or music to your game? Take a moment to think about your answer. And it's the load SFX method. Which class you need to import if you want to scale up or down your model? Take a moment to think about your answer. And this one was a tricky one, because technically you don't need to import any class, but if you would have to pick one, it would be the show base class. And it's time for challenge, boys and girls. What I want you to do is to load this bamboo tree model into your game, and also the chewing sound effect. Both of them needs to be loaded into the game. And when Panda is close enough, you need to figure out the algorithm, you need to figure out the code that actually detects when Panda is close enough. And when you press E button, Panda will start growing and make the chewing sound. Yep, so that's your challenge, and I will show you in a moment how it gets done.
So how did you manage to get Panda to actually eat those bamboo leaves, make the chewing sound, and make the Panda grow as she's eating? Did you manage? If you didn't, don't worry, because we will go through the code just now. Okay, let's start. So first, what I want to do is I want to load that chewing sound. The chewing sound is available in the description below of this video, so you can feel free just to download it. And what I will do, yep, I will just I might as well just load it over here. Self chewing and self load load SFX again. I think SFX is short for sound effect. That's what I think, but it doesn't really matter. As long as it does what it needed to do, it doesn't really matter. And I've got this sound effect in my current directory, so I might as well just specify chewing mp3 like that. But I don't want to play just yet, because if I do this, if I play like this, if Panda will start making the chewing sound as soon as the play starts, as soon as the game starts. We don't want that. We want Panda to make that sound when she's eating, which means under certain conditions in the game, right? So let's take this off because we don't need this line of code here. Instead, what we want to do, but before we go there, we want actually that bamboo leaves or bamboo tree, or I think it's some kind of like a bush. We need to import it again, right? And yes, that file, that bamboo leaves, yeah, you can just import it, or you can just download it from the link I included in the description. So, and we can do the same thing we did here, because we are basically doing the same thing. So we can use the self loader and load the model. It's pretty much the same thing, yeah. So let's do it. Underneath where we are attaching Panda to the scene, we can do self bamboo. I will just go with bamboo, why not? Self load load model like that. And again, as you can see, I've got it in my current directory, so I will just specify it like that. Bamboo.obj. At this point, you might be asking why I'm using a load model, and here I'm using actor. As far as Panda3D is concerned, there are two different ways to actually import models, because if you are importing, or if you are loading animated object, like for example a panda with animations, you need to use the actor. But for non-animated objects, like for example a tree or something that's that doesn't change, something that's constant, yeah, we need to use the loader. If there are no animation, if the model or the asset isn't animated, we need to use the load model from the loader class over here. Okay. So we've got bamboo tree is loaded, that's right, and we can do just attach to the scene, yeah. Bamboo reparent to, but you know what, before we attach it to the scene, what we need to do is we need to scale it down, because this model by default is super large, like it's just gigantic, it really is. So what we need to do, we need to scale it down. Set scale, and let me just double check, because I think the bamboo, yes, we need to scale it down to 0.1 and 0.1, like that. That's the proper scaling. Next, what we need to do is we need to actually position it in the right way, so it's not so far away from Panda, yeah. So self bamboo set position, you can just try what -8, 4 and 0 will do. Okay, self bamboo reparent to render. Control S to save, and let's run it. And we've got it. Okay? So the bamboo bush or pot or whatever, the bamboo tree is there. And now what we want to do is when we press E, E for eat. Yeah, we want Panda to actually simulate that she's eating. Okay, let's do it. So what we want to do now is we can create just another variable, self activities, and it's going to be dictionary, eating, and false by default. Okay, the reason why I'm not including eating into the key map over here, because basically I'm not doing what the key map is for here. Yeah, because these are activities. Eating is activity. It's not necessarily a key map, so it shouldn't be included there. Like if you want it, you can include it there, but I don't think it's completely the right decision here. So I'm just gonna go with self activities, eating false. Yeah. And now what I want to do is simply I'm gonna add another function here or method. Def handle activities self, and it's going to be activity and value. And what I want to do is I want to simply just change the value, right? So it's a self activities activity, and I will just assign it to the value. Yep, that's what I wanted to do. And next what we want to do is, yeah, we want to actually get Panda to actually recognize the E keystroke, right? So let's do it. Self accept E, and we don't want to call the self handle movement. No, we want to call the method we just created, which is self handle activities. It's eating true, but also we want Panda to recognize when we are releasing the E key, right? So E up, and it's pretty much the same thing. Let me just copy paste it like this, and we give it false because we want, at some point we want Panda to stop eating. But now what we want to do is we want to help Panda recognize when she should start eating, right? So in the update game loop, we need to create another condition, and we want to run certain code. Like for example, we want Panda to start making the chewing sound and start growing when appropriate. Like for example, in our case, when Panda is near enough to the bamboo tree, right? The bamboo bush. If the Panda is there in the close proximity, yeah, she can start making that sound when we press E, and she will start growing because she's gaining weight as she's eating, right? Okay, let's do it. So if self activities eating, if it's true, and now what we need to do, we need to give it like this collection of conditions. Don't worry, it won't be too long, but it needs to be done to make Panda work the way we want. So let's do it. So self Panda get X. By the way, get X is pretty much the same thing as get position. Get position and the first value. It's pretty much the same thing. Yeah, I'm just being super specific here. Get position, get X, and it will return the value of X where Panda is at the very moment. And if Panda get X is greater than self bamboo get X, however, we need to give it some extra buffer if you wish. We need to give it some extra room to work with. we can't make it exactly because we want Panda to be close enough we want Panda to be close enough so the program can actually recognize, okay, Panda is close enough so she can start eating and making chewing sound. Okay, so we want to do -4, and let's continue on the next line. And self Panda get X is less than self bamboo get X plus 4. Again, we are just establishing the parameters here. Yeah, if you understand what I mean, we are establishing basically the tolerance. If Panda is close enough to the bamboo tree from different directions, we can make actually Panda to eat and start making chewing sound. Because if she's not close enough, we can't be making that sound. We need to check when Panda is close enough. And self Panda get Y is less than self bamboo get Y plus 4. And we can continue on the next line, which is self Panda get Y is greater than self Panda self bamboo get Y minus 4. And if it is, essentially what it means is, at this very moment, Panda, we are pressing E, and Panda is close enough to the tree. What we want to do is, we want to first check the Panda's position, which we can do in a number of different ways. I think the most simplest way is just to get the Panda values, yeah, to get the Panda position from the get pos method. And I will use tuples here, X, Y, and Z. Self Panda get scale. And what I'm doing here is basically I'm pulling the values of the scale in that very moment from Panda object, right? And what I would need to do, because basically at this point I'm eating, the Panda is eating, yeah. So I just need to increase these values by reasonable amount, yeah. And we can go with X plus equals, and I have found that 0. I would say 2. Oh, my bad, sorry. 2, and the same thing for the other dimensions, the other values. 0, 2, and for the Z as well, 2. So once it's increased, we can actually set the value of a new scale to the Panda. Yeah. So let's do it. Self Panda set scale. Set scale, and we just give it X, Y, and Z. Okay, so now we can try. What is it doing? Let's do it. Okay, so we're close enough. I'm pressing and holding E, and Panda indeed, she's growing. Can you see that? She's growing bigger and bigger. As you can see, I noticed that I took my finger off because we noticed that actually Panda isn't making that noise, that isn't making that chewing sound, right? We want to fix that. So what we can do is first we check if Panda isn't making the noise already, because remember, Panda is executing loop. She keeps calling this function, this loop, over and over and over. And what we don't want to do is calling, starting the music or starting the sound, the chewing sound, over and over on every single frame or every single loop, right? So first what we want to do is we want to check if it's not already running. And we do it like this. If self chewing status, I need to call it though, status is 1, basically I'm checking if Panda isn't making the sound already. If it's not, if she doesn't make it a sound, then I need to start making that sound. So self chewing play, and it will start playing. But we need to stop making that sound when appropriate. And in our case, when we need to stop making the sound, if this is false, basically it means when we release the E key, we want to stop making the sound. Or when Panda isn't close enough to the tree, we want to stop making that sound. So what we want to do is else statement here, self chewing stop, like that. Control S to save, and we run it. Let's take a look. Close enough. I'm pressing E. And yeah, Panda is making a chewing sound, and it's growing as well. Awesome. Have you managed to work it? Chew sound. It's grow while she's eating. Let's try. So we are using wave from the tree. Let's see what is happening. So how did you do? Did you manage to go through the challenge? Did you get Panda to eat that bamboo leaves and make Panda grow? If you didn't, don't worry about it. Just learn from it. Just learn the code. Get to understand how it works, you know, because that's the beauty of this journey, right? And I'm just so excited that you are joining me on this. And if you enjoyed this video at home, just hit the subscribe button if you have done so already. Hit the like button. Share it with your mates. Share it with your friends. And I will see you next time. Bye.